Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Live with Liz. Yeah, I hope everybody's having a great holiday season. I don't feel like it's the holidays anymore right now because I've been so head down in my work and trying to get things done before the end of the year. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but I guess the holidays are upon us, so it's a good time now toward the end of the year to kind of just take a look back and see how 2021 has been, kind of with an eye to what's going to happen in 2022, and are we prepared? The answer is no. And what we can expect and what our concerns are. And around this time of the year, there's a report that comes out from Thomson Reuters, from law firm leaders, and there's so much interesting information that can be gleaned from this report. It's relatable to the law firm leaders I work with. And hey, good morning, Leah. And it's not necessarily so enlightening. There are these things that people always know, but it's helpful to be able to take a look at what other firms are facing and what you may be facing too, and to measure yourself against the competition and prepare yourself for these things that are happening. Hey, Mariana, good morning. I'm looking forward to seeing you in a little bit. um, so this report is interesting. It really highlighted these 5 areas of concern that I think are relevant to the entire industry, and something that I'm seeing not just in the United States but around the world. And I'll just these 5 areas are um, lawyer recruitment and retention, the potential for poaching of staff by competitors, which I've seen a lot of over 2021, the salary increases that associates are expecting and receiving. And it's not necessarily surprising that that's happening given where our economy is and given the competition for people these days. Another concern that I was a little surprised to see was um, underperforming lawyers. And this is something that law firm leaders stressed about as one of their top concerns. And I think that bears some attention because I think our expectations for productivity are still high, even though we know that productivity has fallen drastically this year, and that maybe the expectation is a little unrealistic, especially given the demand for attorneys. So it's a little bit surprising to see underperformance as one of the major areas of concern. But it's understandable. It's understandable, obviously, because of the pressures that the pandemic and the economy and the limitation of resources are putting on everyone. People are experiencing burnout, and when these things come out, especially toward the end of the year, you're like, oh my gosh, I worked so hard. What did I do? What did I get done this year? Maybe that's just me. I hope it's not just me. But that's one that kind of was hard to swallow for me. It was not something that you like to talk about. And then the competition among law firms, especially when it comes to fees. So we're seeing that come in again, and how challenging to have to address competition and fees while having all of your costs go up. So that is something that I think we're going to struggle with in 2022. But there are some bright spots in this when it comes to law firm business, and that's increased work. That's the kind of silver lining that we're seeing, is that 2021 did show us that there is an increase in work. And I actually expect to see 2022 have an increase in litigation. We've seen throughout 2021 an increase in activity in the regulatory and compliance environments. So for B2B law firms in 2022, I would absolutely expect to follow that kind of activity in regulatory and compliance with an increase in litigation across the board when it comes to B2B services. And so this extra work, a little bit of a burden, but also helpful, right? We're all still in it. We have a lot to do. We have a lot to prepare for. So there are 2 areas that I think are really driven home in these reports, and what's happened in 2021 and where we're going in 2022. And the 2 areas are, for law firm business itself, are for people and technology. And obviously there are the people concerns with what I'm seeing in the market is a lot of consolidation, a lot of movement, a lot of people who are reevaluating where they stand in life and what the priorities are, and whether or not they want to be in a firm anymore or go off on their own, open their own firm, or even be a solo. That's something that's absolutely happening. There are others that I have seen struggle throughout 2021, and not just in the United States, but also in Latin America and beyond, where these people who are struggling have made the decision to join a firm and to, align forces and really just try and balance their lives and their work to achieve greater results and success together. And you're seeing that in Central America, you're seeing that in Canada, you're seeing that even in the United States in certain practice areas. And I know you all are well aware of my background in intellectual property. So mostly I'm pointing to the IP firms, but these are firms that also often provide additional services in the B2B realm with corporate tax and finance, mergers and acquisitions, and transactional work, all being highlights of 2021 and expected to continue in 2022. And we also see that expectation in what's happening in private equity and the investments that private equity firms are making. And we see the reported in the news where people are raising money, what industries are being affected, and I absolutely expect that to continue throughout 2022. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday that was very interesting, that made me think about, what's happening in Latin America, which is where we focus a lot of our attention. And I had to think about it for a minute, but it kind of mimics a little of what's happening in the United States. And we saw early on in 2021 this the measure of work and where it's divided, who gets it, who's successful, and who's really worried. And what happened from 2020 to 2021, I think we're seeing this still play out 2021 to 2022. And that's that, yes, there is more work, but it is concentrated even even as we see this uptick in sometimes a few firms that are at the top of the game when it comes to particular services. And I'm talking again specifically about IP, but we see increased work and we see winners, but we see a lot of firms struggling at the same time. And that's the firms that don't have those top clients who carry things through difficult times. It's the firms that are in jurisdictions that are not considered a high priority. So, how corporates prioritize where they're going to invest in legal protection and procurement of their intellectual property rights, and how companies choose where they're going to expand in operations and, again, their IP rights and their regulatory needs when it comes to operating on the ground in different countries makes a huge difference as to whether or not your jurisdiction is going to be a winner or a loser. And the way companies do this, in my experience, has been to really focus on those countries that have been identified for operating, where they actually have business on the ground, where they have the potential for business in the next 5 years. How do you make your jurisdiction relevant? These are important when it comes to things like protection. If you are on their distribution chain, if you're part of their transportation chain, then you may end up being in a higher priority. And of course, the place where we're seeing this the most is in pharma, related to the pandemic, and innovation in pharma, protection in pharma when it comes to the vaccines, especially, and the needs for medication. This is something that is being protected pretty much everywhere. But there are other areas that are not as robust and that have certainly seen a decline. And we're seeing that in the retail sector. We're seeing that even in food and beverage to some extent, as transportation costs go up, as manufacturing costs go up. There is a shift that's being experienced, and it is a concern for 2022. Along with that concern, though, still comes that opportunity. So I say follow the regulatory and compliance, see what's happening in your industries related to those areas, and then pursue, if you're a firm that handles litigation, maybe an expansion of your services related to what we can expect or predict is coming. Um, and when it comes to those two areas, people and technology, what is happening? What is happening? This investment in technology that law firms are making is expected to continue for 2022. And we've seen a lot of it in 2021. We've seen a lot of upgrades to technology, especially when it comes to collaboration software, when it comes to CRM, when it comes to marketing platforms. This is something that a lot of firms, especially from Latin America, are looking at, evaluating, and investing in now. Again, if they've done it before, but sometimes for the first time. And it's not just Latin America, North America too. We're seeing firms invest in project management software and client management platforms. And we're seeing more and more of platforms that are unexpected in this space that are generally considered business tools for for corporations that you would not expect because they're not necessarily optimized for law firms, but being utilized by law firm teams nonetheless. And new workflows being established to be able to make best use of those legal technology solutions. And I fully expect that to continue through 2022, especially because upgrades in software like this do potentially two things: make you more valuable when it comes to delivery of your client services, because clients have this expectation that you're going to be able to work efficiently and deliver their services in a timely fashion and in a manner that they've become accustomed to working. So if they're used to that collaboration, they're going to expect it from you. If they're used to that communication, they're going to expect it from you. And the other thing is, it can save you on costs. And this is something that is very difficult to evaluate. And it may be a longer term analysis that needs to be done, because you're not going to realize it, of course, in the first or second year if you're making a huge investment in replacing a function of people with technology, or if you maybe have an adoption issue, or maybe have the implementation challenges that come with any big new solution. You may have this expectation that it's going to save you money right away, but these are long-term scenarios where you have to really let the investment play out, and you have to be dedicated to it in a certain way in order to be successful with the implementation. But you can save costs this way, and I know that's a concern for a lot of firms that are experiencing turnover in staff, turnover. Where are you getting your docketing clerks? Where are you getting your, all the people who you need to actually process the services that you're providing? And for associate level lawyers, there's a lot of competition in the marketplace, and there's a learning curve when they come on board. And so technology can help replace certain functions or make certain functions more efficient so that your people can maximize their productivity. And that's really what we want to get out of these technological upgrades to your law firm systems, whether it be your law firm matter management, whether it be e-billing, your finance system. Integrations are also at the forefront, as they have been for a while, but a lot of people are expecting more from the software solutions that they have, or that the ones that they're considering implementing. And then, aside from the people and the technology, BD and travel. This is the other thing that is, I think, for the last couple of months, everybody's been kind of sighing and having some relief and saying, okay, 2022, we're going to be back. A lot of feedback that I've received in regards to the virtual platforms and the conferences, especially when it comes to sponsorship value and when it comes to actually participating during an event. And the value just isn't the same as when you're in person. That has been the consensus of the feedback, is that some of these platforms are okay and a decent alternative because you can't be there. But most people I've spoken to, I mean, and I'm talking like 95% or higher, are definitely looking forward to in-person travel. And we're all on edge once again with this Omicron variant and COVID-19 and the limitations that we're seeing creep up again with border closures and travel and new requirements when it comes to either quarantine or medical status. All of these challenges that say maybe we're going to be in this a little bit longer. Now, maybe the bright spot there is we're going to save for yet another year, maybe less, maybe more, on travel. And that savings on travel can then be invested in people and technology, which we're going to have to do anyway. I would love to hear how you see what's happening in 2022 and beyond, and what your plans are for your firm. And if you want to talk about these things that are happening in the legal industry, in the industries that you serve, I would love to do that. I'm going to take a break from Live with Liz next week, and hopefully everyone else is either on break now or gets a little break. And my other big news is that I'm getting ready to travel, even with all of these limitations, and it's terrifying, but also exciting. I'm going to take my toddler, and we're going to be working from Brazil for an entire month. So if you happen to be in Brazil, or just want to connect for a virtual coffee, because one-on-one virtual coffee is much more enriching sometimes than some of the virtual conferences out there, then I would love to do that with you. Send me an email, solutions@firmforward.com, or visit us at FirmForward pretty much everywhere. Subscribe to our channel, send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Happy New Year, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I hope you have time with your friends and family, and take a break next week from me too. And Mariana, so great to see you. Can't wait to catch up in a little while. Take care, everybody, and see you in 2022.